I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, American Patriots, and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Before we get into tonight's show, a lot of people have been asking, because I posted it on Facebook and also in my community section, in regards to my recent scare with cancer. To sum it up real quick, I had a spot on my chest, had it biopsied. It did turn out to be malignant skin cancer, and they went in and cut it out. A huge area, a chunk is missing from my chest right now, and it's all stitched up. Doctor believes he got everything out of there, and should be no reason for anything else. No chemo, no radiation, nothing of that nature. Just move forward and watch it. And that's what we'll do. If anything changes, I'll be more than happy to update everybody and let you know how things are going. Because, you know, it could affect things in the future, such as, I don't know, the show. But for right now, everything's good. I'm good. I'm feeling great and ready to continue. So, for those of you that have been watching for a while or following me for a while, you know that we've gone to the border several times. We did a couple of border documentaries. And while we were down there last, we also came across potential terrorists from the Middle East that were attempting to come across through our southern border. We also interviewed border agents as well as some of the union representatives that also explained to us some of the things they've seen in the past and some of the people they've apprehended in the past that were on the no-fly list or a potential terrorist type person. And the only way for them to get here, because one thing is working pretty good, and that's the no-fly list type thing that we have. So when these people arrive by aircraft, hopefully they are apprehended. But when they come from the southern border, well, things are a little different because the more of them coming, and not just those type people that want to do us harm, but the other hundreds of thousands that they're mixed in with, people are going to get through. So my biggest concern has always been who's gotten through that we don't know about yet. And that's what this first story is. A potential terrorist with links to a number of Yemen subjects of interest was captured in Arizona last week after illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. U.S. Border Patrol officials announced yesterday the 21-year-old man was apprehended last Thursday entering the U.S. from Mexico through the Yuma, Arizona, according to a tweet from Yuma Sector Chief Patrol Agent Chris T. Clem. He was wearing a jacket with an American flag patch and another that stated Central Oneida County Volunteer. Speaking to Fox News yesterday, Central Oneida County Volunteer Ambulance Corps Chief Thomas Myers said the man, whose identity has not been released yet, has no affiliation with the New York-based group. Myers added that he does not know who the man is or how he acquired one of their jackets. which, by the way, was outdated from the version the Ambulance Corps now uses today. So somehow along the way, this person who's been on our watch list and thankfully has been apprehended was wearing a shirt or a jacket with an American flag and also pretending to be somebody with a first responder type group here in America. And again, my biggest concern is how many people have managed to come across that border that plan to do us harm that we've yet to catch. It's a numbers game, folks. It's a hurry up and wait game because something's going to happen in the near future. It's a given because we've let our guard down once again. And once again, America is back in the exact same situation we were in prior to 9/11, where agencies weren't talking to each other. There was open border situations, law enforcement not getting the equipment and the stuff needed to stop potential terrorist activity. So it's very alarming because we're back there again. And sadly, as Americans, we tend to forget about history. And that's not good. A new Pentagon report found that roughly 100 U.S. service members participated in prohibited extremist activities in the last 9 months. So we just went, yes, we did. We just went from talking about known terrorists coming across our southern border to, oh, what's happening in our military? So hear me out with this. We believe that less than 100 or about 100 active duty or reserve component members of the military participated in prohibited extremist activities. Pentagon's press secretary, John Kirby, said yesterday during a press briefing, adding that the military's data collecting system still needs to get better. The number represents just a fraction of over the 2 million people who currently serve in the U.S. military, with Kirby saying that the vast majority of men and women in our armed forces serve honorably. Well, at least he said that. Kirby's comments come after the Department of Defense Monday released its report countering extremist activities, which was ordered by Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin earlier this year, after it was found many of the participants in the January 6th Capitol riot were active military or veterans. The report outlines next step to combat extremist activities in the military, detailing certain extremist activities, including advocating terrorism or supporting the overthrow of the government, that are prohibited for service members to engage in. Service members could also land themselves in trouble for liking or sharing extremist content on social media, though Kirby said there was no monitoring system in place and enforcing the rule would depend on leaders discovering the activity. The new strategy does not change what is prohibited activity for military members, but seeks to give more detailed definitions of what does and does not constitute extremist activity. In order to hold service members accountable for engaging in extremist activities, commanders are required to determine whether 2 criteria are met. First, the commander must determine service members' actions meet the definition of extremist activity. And second, it must be determined that the service member actively participated in the prohibited activity. But the report did not designate specific groups such as Proud Boys or Black Lives Matter or Antifa as extremist groups, an admission Kirby said was deliberate despite widespread attention on the issue. Groups can and do change their methodology, their ideas, their motivations, and they can remove or reform themselves, Kirby said. They can disband and reform into something else. And so if we got into coming up with a list of extremist groups, it would only be probably as good as the day we published it. Well, that is a chicken shit way of putting it, sir. Yeah, I'm sorry, but look, BLM and Antifa have been hurting innocent people, burning and looting buildings, setting police cars on fire, injuring police officers, killing police officers. Yeah, you can call them out, and you should call them out, but you're not going to because, in my book, you're a coward. So here's my question. How many of you have ever heard of this kind of report being done by the Pentagon uh, on, let's say, incidents that actually have happened, such as December 2019, the attack at Pensacola Naval Air Station, 3 dead, 5 injured? Who did that? How about also in December 2019, the attack at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, 2 dead, 1 injured? Who did that, Mr. Kirby? July 2015, the attack at Marine recruiting stations in Tennessee, 4 dead, 2 injured. Secretary Lloyd, who was responsible for that? How about April of 2014, the attack at Fort Hood, Texas Army Base, 3 dead, 16 injured? Wow, I seem to recall that very well, as do most Americans. How about March of 2014, the attack at Norfolk, Virginia military base, 1 dead? Or September 2013, the attack at Navy Shipyard Complex in Washington, D.C., 12 dead and 4 injured. Or June of 2013, the attack at Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston, where 1 was wounded. Or April 2013, the attack at Fort Knox, Kentucky, 1 dead. And that's just to name a few of many that have happened. Many that have been able to infiltrate our military and do destructive things towards our military. And because of political correctness, those in charge refuse to call it out for what it is. Instead, we're going to look at, just your average, everyday white guy in the military that may have liked something on his Facebook page that, I don't know, Breitbart put out as, he's possibly an extremist. You guys need to wake up over there at the Pentagon. I'm so glad I'm no longer serving in the military. I'm very, very proud that I've retired because there ain't a way, there's not a snowball chance in hell that I would survive in today's military under this political correct bullshit that is going on. It is absolutely destroying the honor, the integrity of our military. So everybody's aware of what happened just recently with Joe Biden's Rebuild Back America policy, right? And how Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, West Virginia, shut it down. Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, West Virginia, blasted the White House staff for leaking absolute inexcusable things about him after rejecting President Biden's Build Back Better Act during an interview on Fox News Sunday. Manchin said during a Monday interview with Metro News Talkline that the White House retaliated against him after he told Fox News Sunday that he could not support Biden's signature COVID-19 relief legislation. Basically, they retaliated, the West Virginia Democrat said. I figured they would come back strong. Manchin defended his decision to oppose the Build Back Better Act, elaborating that he has gone and talked to Biden. He sat down with him right there in the Oval Office, who knew he couldn't get there. The senator also blamed the White House staff for recent news reports about him saying they were being driven by the president's staffers and that he understands it is not Biden doing it. And he understands that because, sadly, Biden is not all there mentally. I'm not sure who's running our country right now, but it's not him. And that's not to make fun of anybody with any type of mental condition, but this guy has one. You know, maybe it's dementia, maybe it's Alzheimer's. I don't know what's happening in Joe Biden's head, but it's obvious to anyone that, I mean, hell, it's all over social media. You can go listen to any speech he gives, and he's just out there somewhere. But he's not where he needs to be mentally to run this country. And they drove some things and put some things out that were absolutely inexcusable, Manchin said. And they know what it is, and that's it. Manchin did not specify what the White House staff released about him. The senator continued saying that he would not be pressured into supporting the bill by his fellow Democrats. They figured, surely to God, we can move one person. We can badger and beat up on one person, Manchin said. Surely we can get enough protesters to make that person uncomfortable enough. Well, guess what? I'm from West Virginia, he said. I'm not from where they're from. That's actually a great statement. And they just beat the living crap out of people and think that they'll be submissive, period. Manchin's announcement Sunday did not go over well with liberals in the media and Democrat lawmakers, with several taking aim at Manchin over his decision to shut the door on Build Back Better. In a Monday interview yesterday, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat in New York, aka AOC, called Manchin's move an egregious breach of the trust of the president and said that Democrats have every right to be furious with Joe Manchin. This idea that we're going to refit it to Joe Manchin's liking, the bill has already been retrofitted to Joe Manchin's liking, AOC said. Let's make that extremely clear. The climate ambitions have been reduced because of Joe Manchin. Well, madam, look, do you have a mirror in your house? Look in it. You're the pot calling the kettle black if there ever was one. A public school system in Michigan spent 21 days teaching adults in the district how to be good equity allies, capped with a direct call for them to join a Black Lives Matter political protest. Farmington Public Schools in Michigan released a 21-day equity challenge for interested parties in the district, aiming to help individuals learn how to be more effectively understood and celebrating our differences. Our mission statement is Farmington Public Schools, together with our community, will engage every student in a quality experience, empowering each student to become a thoughtful, contributing citizen in a changing world, the school district wrote. With this in mind, we, together with you, hope to deepen our understanding about the members of our community and to use this knowledge to confront bigotry, hatred, and discrimination against any individual or group. On the final day of the challenge, the calendar offered a personal action plan sheet for students to track their progress on the issues from an individual perspective. Directives given on the sheet include suggestions such as to donate to causes that support Black LGBTQ plus communities, join a Black Lives Matter or an affiliated protest, and donate to bail efforts supporting people arrested for protesting against injustice. Previous days on the calendar were simply progressive, including offering white privilege checklist lessons on the gender spectrum, and the microaggressiveness of mediocrity. Day 18 of the Equity Challenge included a link to a list of microaggressions to avoid, such as calling America the land of opportunity. The calendar, which was first flagged by the conservative Young America's Foundation, was not assigned to students, and participation was not required by the district. These activities are completely optional, and you may participate in as many or as few of the activities as you would like. The challenges will remain available throughout the month of December if you would like to participate but need additional time, their website states. You know, one of the biggest problems we have with people like this that are running our school system, and many people in Washington, D.C., that are stirring this pot and pouring fuel in this fire, is that they've never left this country. They've never been to an actual real live socialist country. They've never been to a communist country. They've never been to a country that suppresses its people. If they had done this, they would realize that while, yes, we do have problems here in America, we are correcting them. Some of them have taken years to do, sadly. But regardless, we are still the best country on planet Earth. And I say that as somebody who is deployed away from America 4 separate times in combat operations across the world, and have been on many other missions that were not combat related in other parts of this earth that we all live on. And I assure you, if you've never left America before, there isn't another place better than we are. Do we have problems? Yes, we have problems. We're working on those problems. Every day, people are working on those problems, regardless of what some 18-year-old girl in Berkeley has to say in a megaphone, shouting someone down. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. You all know who she is, right? Look, Miss Anti-Police and anti-federal government getting involved to help us. And Miss, we don't have a problem here in Chicago. Well, now she's calling for federal government for help in combating crime and violence in the Windy City. In a news conference yesterday, the Democrat mayor asked the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland to send in agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, and explosives for 6 months to ramp up the number of gun investigations and gun seizures, according to Fox 32 out of Chicago. She also asked for more federal prosecutors to handle the criminal cases those agents will investigate, as well as federal marshals to assist local law enforcement with tracking down thousands of suspects wanted on warrants. We need these additional resources well in advance of the summer, Lightfoot said. The plea comes as the number of shooting victims in Chicago this year, as of this past Sunday, was 4,270, compared to 3,930 in 2020. The Chicago Tribune reported, citing police statistics. Homicides have risen 783, up from 749 recorded during the same time period in 2020, the newspaper also said. Keeping you safe is my priority. That's what Lori Lightfoot said, okay? And if you've ever watched me talk about this girl before, or you've ever seen her, what she has to say in front of a microphone, you know how funny this shit is. Keeping you safe is my priority. Not one of, but the first and primary priority, the tribute quoted Lightfoot is saying. I wake every morning with this as my first concern, and I push myself and all involved to step up and do more and better because we cannot continue to endure the level of violence that we are now experiencing. Wow. Federal law enforcement resources have been involved with the crime situation in Chicago in recent years. Last summer, it was reported by Fox News that then President Donald Trump was sending in 100 federal agents to Chicago as part of Operation Legend. Then in September 2020, then Attorney General William Barr said the number of homicides in Chicago plummeted 50% after the Trump administration's actions. But Lightfoot, while noting the city was grateful for the additional federal charges and prosecutions, according to the Chicago Tribune, pushed back against Barr's claim, suggesting that the violence had begun to subside before they sent in the federal troops. You couldn't make that shit up if you tried. Wow. Oh, boy. Oh, Lori Lightfoot. While other major cities across the U.S. have been experiencing record spikes in violent crimes, Dallas, Texas had seen roughly an 8.5% reduction by the end of last month. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson, a Democrat, told Fox News Digital he attributed that success to three things. This is a Democrat saying this now. What are those three things? A strong police chief, having a budget that reflects public safety being your city's top priority, and ensuring there's community buy-in for crime reduction. The city budget included funding to improve officer morale by paying officers market rate salaries to ensure that they're not getting paid less than officers in surrounding communities, and restoring the police overtime budget that was slashed from the previous budget. We've done things that we need to do in the moment that will take public safety serious here, Johnson added. And I think that, sort of flies in the face of some cities that have done in response to some of the defunding the police movement and whatnot. As the outgoing police commissioner in New York City and others have recognized, criminals feel increasingly emboldened when they know officers will not respond to crime, such as the smash and grab robberies that we're seeing going on across this country in Democrat-run areas. Johnson affirmed the need for officers to maintain a presence in the communities. It's important to have a presence, a police presence in your city, and it's important that criminals not get the impression that they can engage in illegal activities and there won't be a police response, Johnson said. The budget also includes funding for new squad cars to have more personnel in the community show that presence, and as well as recruitment. Following 2020's already historically bloodied year, 12 major U.S. cities, all run by Democrats, have broken annual homicide records for 2021. From Texas, Austin was among those cities on the nationwide list. This year, though, on November 30th, Dallas, Texas saw an 8.47 reduction in overall violent crimes compared to last year, according to statistics from the Violent Crime Reduction Plan update presented last week to city council members in the Public Safety Committee. Murders are down by 12.23%, while total robberies also declined by 29.04%. We're not taking a victory lap here, Johnson said. We're glad to be in a very small group of cities where the crime is going down, and given how much it's going up in other places, you have to say that it's going down pretty significantly here, and we're happy about that. We're not done, the mayor said. Our goal has always been the same as it is, to be the safest city in America. And we're not there yet, but we're going to keep working until we are. Since the inception of Dallas Police Chief Eddie Garcia's new crime fighting plan, which was done on May 7th, Dallas has seen a decline in homicides, robberies, and aggravated assaults. As part of the plan, police have been working to identify violent hotspots and have been increasing officer presence in 51 small grids out of 101,402 across the city. It took getting a new police chief in here who believed in the importance of actually having a sort of kitchen sink approach to fighting violent crime, and knowing that we needed to have a plan to address violent crime and to really get things moving in the right direction, Johnson told Fox News Digital. Our chief is committed to making sure that we actually reduce violence by going where violence is and not pretending like we don't know where the parts of the city are, Johnson said. The crime numbers are being driven by certain what they call microgrids here in our city, small areas where if we target those areas, we can make a disproportionate impact on the overall crime rate. During last week's committee meeting, Dallas Mayor of Police Paul Junger said November was the fourth consecutive month the department recorded fewer aggressive assault victims than the same month in 2020. By November 30th, aggressive assaults had decreased by 0.35% to 7,395, or 26 fewer victims. Johnson told Fox News Digital his administration has established a task force of community members to develop non-law enforcement-based solutions to combating crime, including remediation of blight, improving lighting in high crime areas, and creating violence-interrupted programs. So, you see, let's give credit where credit's due. Here we have a Democrat mayor who woke up and realizes there's a problem, and we have to fix that problem. Just because in our history we've had a few, and I say that as an exact way of putting it, actually, a few, you can count them on two hands, law enforcement officers that did something wrong, where somebody was shot that shouldn't have been. The Democrats want to go on a defund the police all over the country in Democrat-run cities. And it's not working. Lori Lightfoot up in Chicago, is it? It doesn't work. If you tie law enforcement's hands and you stop them from doing their job, then you're going to have crime. If your DA doesn't have the balls to prosecute these people, and your judges are a bunch of cowards letting them right back out on the street again to be rearrested for doing more crimes, what is possibly going through your mind? Other than you just don't care about the safety of the people in your cities. But here's a Democrat mayor that does. He reminds me of the old Democrats that I used to be a part of when I was a Democrat, where the Democrat Party cared about our military and our law enforcement, our veterans. And we did things to help increase the presence of law enforcement in certain areas of the cities where we know there's crime. And now, when a city does that and they start targeting areas where the crime is at, what happens? Oh, the NAACP steps in, and Black Lives Matter and Antifa steps in, and all these other nonprofit organizations that are anti-white, and start saying what? Oh, that's racist if you start sending cops into those areas because you're now racial profiling. No, that's not what it is about at all. I don't care if that area is all white people, or if it's all black people, or if it's a mix, or if it's a Hispanic neighborhood, or a Muslim neighborhood. It doesn't matter. If that's where the crime's happening, that's where you need to send your law enforcement officers. This is a simple process. Fixing the crime problem in America, while not completely, but at least saving a hell of a lot of lives, could be done if we just threw this political correct bullshit out the window and called it for what it is and actually go target these thugs. It's not racial profiling. No, they're killing people out there on the streets of America and hurting people. Hell, we just sat back and watched over on the West Coast Antifa come in and take over parts of the city. And the mayor didn't do shit but made the cops stand down. And people died because of that action. It's pathetic. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. We all know who she is, right? She's the one that let Jesse Smollett walk and refused to file charges against him. Yeah, well, guess what? She's got some more answering to do. She repeatedly told the public that she cut off communications with Jesse Smollett's sister when she was told that the actor became a suspect, but she continued communicating with her several days later. According to a special prosecutor's report, the report was released yesterday by Special Prosecutor Daniel Webb, citing multiple examples from March of 2019 and at the end of May of 2019, in which Fox told the media that she stopped communicating with Smollett's sister. However, the report says she sent 5 separate text messages to her and talked with her on the phone at least 3 other times through February 13, 2019, 5 days after she claimed she cut off communications. During the phone call on February 13, Fox and Smollett discussed the skin color of the alleged attackers, with Smollett's sister asking, "They're white, right?" Fox informed her that they were not white. During the late evening of February 13, Smollett said her conversation with Fox was quite different, and that Fox said she couldn't communicate with her anymore, and that she was recusing herself from the case. And the reason why is because Smollett's sister and her, the attorney, state's attorney, were friends. Webb said he is going to refer Kim Foxx and her attorneys to the Illinois Attorney Register and Disciplinary Committee for ethics violations. The report does say that the investigation did not develop evidence that would support any criminal charges against State's Attorney Foxx or any individual working at the CCA or CCSAO. However, Webb said in his report that the OSP did develop evidence that established substantial abuse of direction and operational failures by the CCASO in prosecuting and resolving the internal Smollett case. Webb continued by saying it included a breach of his obligations of honesty and transparency by making false and or misleading statements to the public regarding the nature and reasons for the dismissal of the internal case, and said it was a major failure to the operations. You think? Yesterday evening, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office released the following statement. You ready for this? The Cook County State's Attorney Office remains committed to honest honesty and transparency. My ass. Our response remains the same as it was when the Office of the Special Prosecutor was issued in August of 2020, the press release said. Though State's Attorney Kim Foxx was not involved in the initial deposition of the Smollett case, she and the CCSAO remained steadfast in the office acting within its broad prosecutorial discretion. We respectfully disagree with the Office of Special Investigations finding of abuse of prosecutorial discretion, and prosecutors' discretion is as broad as any of the laws, and difference of opinions as to how a case was handled do not signify any abuse of discretion. Finally, it's important to emphasize that the OSP did not find any criminal activity or undue influence on the part of the state's attorney. Smollett's sister told investigators that Fox told her, "Your brother should be fine as long as he stays consistent," the report says. Fox denied saying that. Retired Judge Sheila O'Brien, who successfully filed the motion as a private citizen to have a special prosecutor assigned to the case, slammed Fox, calling her a liar. Kim Foxx should resign. This report shows she is a liar, that her administration is in chaos, and that she's blaming everyone else, O'Brien said. She should resign. Taxpayers deserve better, and Miss Pricklywinkle, her mentor, should take no part in replacing Fox. Cook County government needs to clean house, she added. Earlier this month, Jussie Smollett was found guilty of 5 out of 6 charges, including telling a police officer he was a hate crime victim, telling an officer he was a battery victim, and telling detectives he was a hate crime victim, being black, and they being MAGA. He said they had on Make America Great Again red hats, and they put a noose around his neck. They told him he was in MAGA country, and they beat him up. All of it turned out to be a lie. Hell, one of the members of the jury has spoken out recently and said that the first thing that gave it away that he was a liar was the fact that he walked from that location where the supposedly attack happened to his home, and when the cops came, what did he still have around his neck? The noose that supposedly they put around his neck. And why didn't he remove that? Who wouldn't have removed that? And at least said, hey, this is what they put around my neck. No, he had it around his neck still. As if cops were going to go, oh, wow, look, that was the first thing that made him go, something's not right here. And of course, the more Jussie Smollett talked, the more they realized this was all a setup. And sadly, things like what Jussie Smollett did, they take the light away from real hate crimes, because there are people out there in our society that do hate crimes. There are white people that hate black people or Hispanic people or Muslims. There's black people that hate white people or Hispanic people or Muslims. There's Hispanic people that hate white people or black people or Muslims. There's Muslims that hate everybody else as well. That exists. So when you make up something like this and you take police resources, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars into this investigation, to realize that this guy made this shit all up, and he's not alone in this. There have been other cases where the same stuff's happened. I've done stories about them. I've done videos about them where it got found out that it wasn't true. There was a case a few years ago, you all might remember, at a university, a lacrosse team had a big party, bunch of white college kids that parents make mega bucks, and they invited some strippers over, and one of the strippers decided to claim that she was raped. And when the investigation was all said and done and over with, she finally admitted, when all the evidence was put out in front of her, that she made that shit up. But it ruined some young men's lives. And that's something that shouldn't be happening in America. We have enough problems in this country that making up shit shouldn't be part of what we do. You know, whether it's on racial lines or religious lines or political lines, we are a divided country. And I will tell you this much. With the exception of the young kids running around doing stupid shit, but when you start talking about people in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so forth, Democrat versus Republican, liberal versus conservative, we have more in common than we have that's not in common. And bridging that gap is something that's been very difficult to do from both sides, because there are good Democrats out there that are trying to bridge the gap. There are some good people that claim to be liberals that are trying to bridge the gap. There are Republicans that are trying to bridge the gap. But sadly, when your side finds out you're trying to bridge the gap, what happens? You get shut down as the problem. You're the racist or you're the bigot by your own people. So here's a prime example of that. 2 years ago, I went up to Nashville, Tennessee. I was invited to come up there and do a live show and report on Politicon. And I had the opportunity to interview several prominent Democrats. And you can go see the videos. They're available on my channel. They're available at douglasducote.com. And I met with them and I interviewed them and I asked them some hard questions about why they say the things they do or how they feel. And by the time the interview was over with, it was obvious that we actually agreed on more than what we disagreed on. And I literally lost in that, just that reporting, like 2,000 subscribers went, he's a traitor. Because I tried to talk to these Democrats and get it across to them, conservative and Republicans' viewpoint and why we feel the way we do, and try and understand why they feel the way they do, and try and find some middle ground. We're all Americans, right? We all bleed red, regardless of your political party or the color of your skin or what church you go to, or if you're an atheist. But yet, we have people that are on purpose up in Washington, D.C., on both sides of the aisle, my friends, doing everything in their power to continue to divide this country. I've been very, very hard on Democrats. And look, I think I have all right to, because I used to be a Democrat. I was born and raised in the Democrat Party down here in the Deep South. And I know firsthand what that party is and is not. So when I talk about Democrats saying things that are horrible, I'm speaking that from personal experience. On the same note, there are Republicans that I wouldn't spit in their mouth if they were dying of thirst, because they're horrible, nasty people. And that's what's happening all across our country. It's not that one is better than the other. We should all at least care about securing our country, making sure our men and women that serve this country honorably in the military or in law enforcement have what they need to protect us. And I'm here to tell you there are more Democrats that feel, yes, that's what we need to do, than there are that say that's not what we need to do. If any Democrat tells you that we should not have a border up, we should not have a wall up, that it's racist, ask them if they lock their door at night on their house or if they lock their windows. Or ask Nancy Pelosi and all the rest of those up there in DC, Democrats and Republicans, why they have these huge walls built around their homes and private security as they're wanting to defund the police. Hypocrisy runs deep, my friends, on both sides of the aisle. And I will continue to call out corruption. And I don't care what political party you belong to. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't care if you're religious or if you're atheist. If you're sent to Washington, D.C. to represent we the people, and you're up there for your own personal issues or your own personal beliefs or your own personal values and not of your constituents, and you're doing things that go against our Constitution, well, you can bet I'm going to say something about it. Either it's going to be in a live show or I'm going to do a separate video on it. Because that's what needs to happen. They need to be exposed for what they're doing. All of them. So I hope in some way that makes sense to anybody that's out there on the fence thinking about what I just said. It's very important that we find a way to get the right people in office that actually care about human dignity and a safe America. And right now, my friends, I assure you, and this is from personal experience, from my military career, my law enforcement career, and going down to the border myself and doing documentaries on what's happening, that we're not safe. And sadly, there will be devastating attacks once again right here in America because Democrats and Republicans can't find a way to bridge a gap and cut the nonsense out and at least take care of shit that we have to take care of so that we don't repeat history that's negative. And we're quick to erase history, aren't we? All those monuments are coming down. Confederate everything gone. Did that fix anything? Did banning the Confederate battle flag fix anything? All these movements and marches and protests, what have they accomplished? I'm all for protest. But when you start hurting people, throwing bricks at them, balloons filled with bleach, or shooting police officers or innocent bystanders, there's a problem. And we need to fix that. As we get close to Christmas, here we are just a few days away. And look at us. Look at this country. And I don't care again what part you're from or who you support. I posted yesterday in my community section a link that I thought was pretty cool for people to go check out. It's a live webcam on the International Space Station that is circling this globe. 24/7, you can sit there and look at planet Earth. It's so beautiful. But yet, when you come down here and put your feet on planet Earth, it's nasty and it's ugly all over the place. Whether it's war, people starving to death, not having food, unemployment, riots, total chaos. Look at pictures of the Earth taken by our astronauts and just how beautiful it is, how beautiful this planet is. And then you have to snap back into reality and realize what we're doing to each other. Anyhow, you had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Please share my videos, share the channel, let people know. If you're not already done so, please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell for notifications. Also, if you haven't done so, go to DouglasDucote.com and check out the website. There's also videos there that you can't see anywhere else because it's not politically correct. I will, let's see, when is actually Christmas Day? Let me look at my calendar real quick here. Yes, I'll be doing Thursday's show. Christmas is right. The 24th is Friday. Christmas Day is Saturday. So I plan on doing Thursday's show. And then I'll be back on the 28th after that, continuing on. So I hope that you will join me. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America, and may God bless each of you. Thank you for joining me. See you soon.